Hello and welcome back to the channel. So it's been a while since I did a flight video, and a number of reasons for that. I've been out of the country a lot with work, and when I'm out of the country I can't fly the sim, obviously. Also, I've had the sim down for quite a bit of work recently, so some rebuilding work, additional hardware changes, software changes, new software installed, new aircraft installed, just a bunch of stuff really. So I've done a few videos on setup and screen calibration and multi-channel and those sorts of things, but I haven't done a proper flight video for a while, so I thought it was time to do something about that. As you can see, today we're at London City Airport, and in the sim it's June 2018, June 26, 2018, mid-afternoon. So it was a very nice sunny day that day, and I wanted nice clear conditions so that we get plenty of sightseeing in along the way. And today we're going to Newquay Airport in Cornwall, and I picked that route primarily because it will keep us inside the boundaries of the True Earth GB South scenery that I installed recently. I'll talk a bit more about True Earth, GB, and the pluses and minuses of that as we go, and also a bit about the various changes. But let's get on with setting up the aircraft and getting ready to go. Now, one new change, if we just hop over to the host PC, step inside the simulation for a while, you can see, well, here we are at City. There's the True Earth scenery in the background. Already looks pretty impressive. But one thing that is new to the simulator is GSX, and so I'm going to request boarding via GSX. You see the step ladders mysteriously attach themselves to the aircraft. Wants me to open the cargo doors. There you go. And then it wants me to open the passenger doors as well. So you can hear the ATC in the background. That is Pro ATCX, which again is new to the channel. I'm going to alternate between Pro ATCX and PF3 depending on what kind of flying I'm doing. Pro ATCX, as you probably know, is much more intended for airline use and airline operations. Since I'm flying an airliner today, it makes sense to be using that. For other things, PF3 makes a bit more sense. So you see there's no actual cargo loaders there. I don't know where they've gone actually. They are supposed to be using conveyor belt loaders, but there don't appear to be any. Still, never mind. There's the crew bus, so the crew is boarding. This is GSX level 2. So you get to see the little stick figures walking from the bus to the aircraft, so that looked like the first officer boarding there a minute ago. Now we should get the flight attendants. There you go. And after the crew bus has disappeared, a passenger bus will turn up and the passengers will start to load. So I'm quite enjoying GSX. I mean, it's not super realistic. People don't climb stairs that way. I think GSX probably works best at airports that have jetways. That seems to be its sweet spot. The whole boarding from the bus thing doesn't really work yet. And you wouldn't do that at London City anyway. People would just emerge from the door of the building behind the bus there and walk to the aircraft, and there's no way to make GSX do that at the moment. So let's just you can sit here and watch it happen if that's your thing. Let's get back into the cockpit. So look at the overhead panel. As you can see, we're not cold and dark. You wouldn't be cold and dark at London City, obviously. You fly in, you pick up passengers, you go out. So we've got ground power on, and we have the essential systems running, but there are a few things that we need to set up before we go. So just quickly check. Avionics panel looks okay. Everything that's on needs to be on is on. Lights and notices on the right hand side, again they're okay. Hydraulic panel, the AC pump is on auto, the PTU is on, so we get hydraulic power off the ground power loop. Fuel setup is fine, fuel pumps are off for now. Electric is fine, but we need to turn on the standby inverter and generator. The APU is off, we'll need it on later, but not immediately. The engine panel is fine for right now, the pressurization panel is okay. Ice protection all off, which is good for now. And on the air panel, everything is off. So we are where we need to be on the ground for boarding. Passengers, as you can hear in the background, are boarding now. So we need to do a bit of radio work. First of all, let's get the ATIS.
Echo, Golf, Lima, Charlie, airport information, India 1320, Zulu, weather, wind 100, at 11, visibility 10,000, sky clear, temperature 26, dew point 12, QNH 1026, advise on initial contact, you have information, India, Echo, Golf, Lima, Charlie, airport information, India.
Okay, we have India. Now we'll go over to clearance delivery and get our clearance.
Clearance delivery, Speedbird 2868, parking position, Terminal 1, Gate 7, with the ATIS, request clearance.
Speedbird 2868, clear to Echo Golf Hotel Quebec, via the Charlie Papa Tango 1 Hotel departure and then pass filed. Climb and maintain 3000, expect flight level 240 within 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency is 130.85, squawk 5274, QNH 1026.
Cleared by SCPT 1 Hotel departure, climb into 3000, expect flight level 240 within 10 minutes after departure. Departure frequency 130.85, squawk 5274, QNH 1026, Speedbird 2868.
Speedbird 2868, read back correct, call me again for startup and pushback. Contact ground control on 123.55.
Roger, 123.55, Speedbird 2868.
Okay, we've got a clearance. I've started putting in the frequencies, I've put in the initial altitude there. Now we need to do a bit of programming on the FMC, so let me take you down to the FMC. We need to load the ATC route. That's obviously fake, I don't think you could do that in the real world. And that loads the route from the flight planner. We'll activate that and execute. Only 3 waypoints on the route, so it's not particularly complicated. Need to put in departure and arrival, so departure runway 9, CPT 1H, and arrival just runway 12 at the moment. We're going to get vectors. We will do an ILS landing, but we can't prep for it yet. Okay, so the course looks alright now. VNAV, just correct that to 40. 270 speed looks good. 280 in the cruise. Wow, 280 in the descent as well, that's pretty fast. We might have to tweak that on the way down, but let's not worry about that for now. Okay, so that all looks good. Set waypoint mode, LNAV mode, turn on the data display, reduce the range to 10 miles for takeoff. IRS has already started. Yep, okay, that's set up. Over to the main panel. If you look on the right hand side of the main panel, over here, you can see the speed panel, or I think trip computer. So our weight class is 41,000 kilos. V-rotate at 18 degrees of flat would be 134 knots. Can't make 134 knots on this runway, it's too short. We just don't have the power. Sorry, GSX is prompting me to close the doors. We could probably just about make 124 knots. at 24 degrees, but realistically we should be going for a 30-degree flap departure, 115 knots rotation speed. So let's just set that up. Sorry, I've lost my mouse cursor again. There we go. Okay, 94.3% thrust. Temperature's 26. V1 is going to be VR minus 10, so 105. VR is going to be 115. And VFTO 184 knots, that is fine. Okay, so that's done. Oh, actually, just while we're here, just quickly run an annunciator test. Yeah, that looks okay. Okay, so I think we're about ready to consider starting up. Passengers, I think, have now loaded. Doors are closed. Let's just check the outside view. Yeah, stairs have retreated, everybody's on board. There is no pushback here, obviously, you just drive straight out. So we don't need to prepare for pushback. So if I go back into the cockpit, get on the radio and request startup.
Grant Speedbird 2868. Request startup.
Speedbird 2868. Startup is approved.
Roger, startup approved. Speedbird 2868.
I'll tell GSX to prepare for departure without pushback. Right, so beacon light goes on. Engine ice protection needs to go on. All the fuel pumps need to go on. Start master on. Engine selector to 1. PTU off. AC pump off on the hydraulics. I'm going to start the APU, which we will need, though not immediately. Bring up the panel for you to see. Watch the third dial down from the left. That should go up to 20%, and then when it does we will set the thrust lever into idle, which will open the fuel valve and should get the engine going. If we just pop down, so oh yeah, all the thrust levers are currently in idle. I'm going to manually set them back. Sorry, that's a legacy from a previous flight. I've got a switch on my throttle that does these, so I've done that, so I'll use that as part of the engine startup. Let's move that slightly out of the way. Put on the fasten seatbelt sign. Get ready for departure. APU is up, so I'm going to turn on the APU gen. I'm going to disconnect the external power and withdraw the ground power unit. And then we're about ready to start up. Beacon light is on, so start number 1. And we're waiting for the N2 to hit 1819 before we inject the fuel. Okay, good start. Starting 2. Good start. Starting 3. Good start. Starting 4. Okay, good start, all engines. Okay, so start master off, engine selector to off. Turn on the screen heaters and the pitot heater. Generators online. Hydraulic pumps online. AC pump to auto. Rash protection off. Good startup. We are ready to go. Remove the wheel chocks and request our taxi.
Grant Speedbird 2868. Request taxi.
Speedbird 2868. Taxi via Alpha to runway 09.
Via Alpha to runway 09. Speedbird 2868.
Speedbird 2868. Contact tower on 118.07.
118.07. Speedbird 2868.
Okay, we'll go over to the frequency. We'll bring up the hybrid view for you. This is the view I'll be using for most of the flight. If necessary, I'll switch to other panel views, but most of the time this is what you'll be wanting to see. Right, it doesn't take an awful lot to get us moving. In fact, this way, if I take off the parking brake, even at idle, we're probably going to move. So I won't do that just yet. A couple of things to prepare. So APU air on. Packs 1 and 2 go on. We'll switch to engine air, but you can't do that until you hit 3,000 feet. And nav lights go on. Taxi lights go on. It's a very simple taxi. The runway's just over there. Runway 09. Gonna start the flaps coming out. Take off the parking brake. And you'll see, even without applying any thrust, we're moving ever so slightly, but not much. So I'm going to need a little bit of thrust. We turn until we line up with that straight line there. And we line up straight. Now it looks like I'm going to roll onto the grass, but the nose wheel for this aircraft is quite a long way back. So at this point I'll turn. In fact, if anything, I've understeered slightly. They're still roll even on idle. Just a very small amount of thrust. Keep us going. Right, turn on the flight directors. Arm the auto throttle. Set the initial speed 240 knots. Once we get up, when we get to 800 feet, I will turn on the autopilot in speed mode and VS mode. Let that manage our initial climb out whilst I get onto departures. And once we get cleared, I'll do a little bit of direct maneuvering with the heading select to get us on track for the SID. And then I'll kick in the LNAV mode and let the autopilot fly things itself. Slow us down a little bit here. Slightly sharp turn here. Don't want to go over the runway threshold line. That blipping of the horizon, little flicker, that seems to be a wide view problem. I can't seem to fix it, so I guess I'll just have to put up with it. There's a couple of other wide view, wide traffic related problems that we might see later. I'll mention them if we do. I'm definitely looking for solutions there if anybody has any. Let me know in the comments below if you're a Wideview Widetraffic user. Let's request takeoff.
Tower, Speedbird 2868. Holding short at runway 09, ready for departure.
Speedbird 2868. Line up runway 09.
Lining up runway 09, Speedbird 2868.
Weather radar can go on. Going to the runway, so strobe light goes on, landing light goes on. If you heard that in the background there, that is ForeFlight running on my iPad. I don't have an audio feed from the iPad, so if you hear it, you'll only hear it through this microphone.
Speedbird 2868. Wind 100 at 11. Runway 09 cleared for takeoff. Good day.
Runway 09 cleared for takeoff. Speedbird 2868.
Quick check, everything looks good. Autopilot's ready to go. So push the throttles a little way. Everything looks green. Apply full power. Stamp on the brakes until we hit 100%. There we go.
knots.
80 knots already, you see.
V1.
Pretty quick, this aircraft.
Rotate.
And we are up. 12 degrees or so initial pitch.
1003. Gear up.
Look at the scenery. On the speed, on the VS.
Speedbird 2868. Contact
And
departure on
autopilot's on.
130.85.
130.85. Speedbird 2868.
Get this wing waggling behaviour when you turn on the autopilot. I'm not entirely sure why. Let's go over to VHF2 and check in.
Departure Speedbird 2868. With you passing 1,900 for 3,000.
Speedbird 2868. Radar contact. Continue via the Charlie Papa Tango 1 Hotel departure route. Climb to 3000.
Via CPT 1 Hotel departure. Climbing to 3,000. Speedbird 2868.
Okay, making a turn. So you can see lots and lots of autogen buildings down there. And quite a lot of scenery buildings. Now I've got the scenery on sparse, which in the London area I have to. But autogen doesn't really seem to slow things down, so I can have it very dense.
Ryanair 9044. Identified. Climb to flight level 60.
Climbing to flight level 60, Ryanair 9044.
So I'm going to come around to intercept the SID. And this is where the photo textures really make a difference.
Departure Qatari 8781. With you passing flight level 80 for 4,000.
Qatari 8781.
Flaps can come up.
Roger. Descent to 4,000.
There's the airport down there.
To 4,000. Qatari 8781.
Going to give you a London. Unfortunately, you can't see it that well, I don't think. Maybe just out the corner. There's Canary Wharf. And central London behind. Okay, so I've enabled the LNAV mode, so now the autopilot will follow the course that's programmed. Now we are going to be at 3,000 feet through the entire SID, which is quite long.
V2.
There's central London down there, Olympic Stadium.
Departure Ryanair 8592, with you passing 1,300 for flight level 60.
Ryanair 8592. Roger. Climb to flight level 60.
Climbing to flight level 60. Ryanair 8592.
Of course, there's only a limited number of British voices in Pro ATCX, so there's quite a lot of aircraft in the air have the same voice as me, which is a little bit irritating, but can't be helped. At least I don't think any of the controllers will have that voice, because I've removed that voice from the controller set. Let me just check out the scenery. It's quite a thing. Orbx has certainly outdone themselves, although as with all Orbx scenery, and in particular all London scenery, performance is a bit of a crapshoot, to be brutally honest. Took a lot of tweaking to get it this smooth for me, and I still have to run on sparse. I will probably up the scenery detail level to normal when we get out of the London area, and that will increase the number of points of interest and hand-placed buildings that we will see.
Roger control. Ryanair.
Okay, we're at 3,000 feet now, so
5,000. Ryanair 972. Roger. Climb to
I can enable engine air, turn off the APU air,
972.
stop the APU. Then the landing light, taxi light can go off. Everything else is good, so we're set. And we're on course. Okay, we're heading towards BPK. Brookman's Park is the beacon. BPK, we will take about a 45-50 degree left turn and head towards HEN, which is the next beacon on our route. When we hit HEN, that's the end of the SID, and we'll get our climb instructions. But we won't until then. I've flown this route in practice several times, so I know we definitely won't get a climb instruction until then. Now, I picked a day when the sky was nice and clear, but it is still quite hazy, so you have a hard job seeing the ground at great distance, but then level of detail radius is not that huge in order to keep the frame rates reasonable. There's our left turn towards Hen. And once we get up to altitude, it's pretty much just a straight shot. We will be turning left towards the south coast, flying past Bournemouth, well, Portsmouth first, Isle of Wight, then Bournemouth, and then Portland Bill, Chesil Beach, over Lyme Bay to Berry Head on the other side, and at Berry Head we will turn right and head pretty much straight shot towards Newquay.
Flight level 70, expedite climb to flight level 70, Virgin 251.
It's always annoying when the controller and the pilot have the same voice. And that will take us over Dartmoor and a few other interesting sites. Obviously you don't see quite as much in the scenery as you would do if you were at a couple of thousand feet VFR. I will be doing some VFR flying over the south part of England, but probably not until all of the True Earth GB scenery is available. I'm going to do a cross-country series going from Land's End to John O'Groats over the course of probably 10 videos or so. So that'll be upcoming in the next few months. But in the meantime, for the moment, for me, it's about the airliners. So the 146 is my plane of choice. We'll be flying about in that for a bit, and maybe some of the biz jets, the Phenom 100 and 300. Basically, heavier metal stuff that I can use. The throttle tech, throttle quadrant with, and gets me places quick. Okay, so that built up area ahead is St Albans, which we're passing over. See the main road into it. Great thing about this scenery now is that roads are pretty much where they should be. You know, towns are laid out the way they really are. along the photo scenery. The buildings are in the right places. If you get the scenery level high enough up, it's really, really convincing. Really very good.
781.
That is Luton Airport over there.
Descending to flight level 160.
You probably see.
8781.
So we've got Hemel Hempstead in front of us. So yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I'm using 4Flight now, which is a very recent purchase. It's only really become usable in the UK relatively recently. They still don't have the proper NATS IFR en route charts. They're not available yet because I don't think they've acquired them. They are apparently going to be available at some point. You've got the Euro control charts, which are useful, but then I paid an additional subscription for the Jefferson en route charts for Northern Europe. So that gets me en route charts for the UK, otherwise it would be a bit pointless. And to be honest, it's really only any good for IFR. I think for VFR, Sky Demon is actually better, so I probably will keep up both subscriptions for now. I'm just getting used to 4Flight, and yeah, 4Flight maybe, although it's very easy to connect to the simulator, it's not, you know, it's not a simulator tool first and foremost, so it may be overkill in some ways, but I quite like having the synthetic vision. Obviously I don't have synthetic vision in the Flight 1 Tech G1000. You can get it in the Carinado version, but I can't get the Carinado to work with my hardware, and also it just kills the frame rates. So it's quite nice to have the synthetic vision on the iPad. Although it's not on my main line of sight, so really how much use of this is questionable. You see that little blue dot there? That is an airship. It's a static part of the scenery, so it doesn't go anywhere. I think it might even be tethered, I'm not quite sure. But yeah, it's an airship hovering over... where is it actually that we're going to? Halton Airfield, I think. We're going to go past that. And then Hen is in front of us. It's about 6 miles away now. That's Henton in Buckinghamshire, and at that point we will turn left, as you can see. And that will take us over quite a bit of countryside actually, in the general direction of Farnborough. A few airfields around here, but nothing big. We've passed Luton, which is the really big one.
Turkish 1971, slow to 180 knots.
Slowing down to 180, Turkish 1971.
Speedbird 168, slow to 180 knots.
Slowing down to 180, Speedbird 168.
So just engage the VNAV. That way when we get an instruction to climb, I can just set the target altitude and the aircraft will do the rest for me.
Speedbird 2868, climb to flight level 130.
And there you go.
Climbing to flight level 130, Speedbird 2868.
Now it'll try and maintain 250 knots below 10,000 feet, and then it'll go to 270 above 10,000 feet. And basically it's going to adjust the pitch attitude up and down to try and maintain the speed whilst getting the best climb rate that it can. It can take a minute or two to really get its bearings, so a little bit of bumpiness for the passengers, I think. By the way, today, as it's daytime and not too late, I've got the main audio coming out of my 5.1 system. Only the ATC audio is in my headset. Obviously, you get everything on the same channel, so you can't really tell the difference. And I've also got my seat shaker on, so my seat is vibrating. And actually, the seat itself, as you might be able to see, is new. So I had a kind of a racing seat, Corbeau style racing seat, that I bought a while back, and it was just starting to get a bit knackered, so I bought this office chair, which again is kind of set up like a racing seat. It's part leather, part fabric. Very nice. I didn't bother with the base, I just literally attached the seat itself to the existing base. It goes on nicely, and now I have a nice comfortable seat with finally a headrest, which is good. just going to...
Departure Ryanair 8682. With you, passing flight level 116, top flight level 60.
Ryanair 8682. Identified. Descend to flight level 60.
Descending to flight level 60. Ryanair 8682.
Okay, so I have just told Pro-ATCX that the co-pilot will service the radios, and also to turn on the background ATC chatter. So you're going to hear lots of ATC in the background, even if there's not many planes around. Just passing 8,700 feet for 10,000. When we hit 10,000, we'll accelerate.
I'll have traffic advance along the river shortly.
25, we're just drawing to completion here, so if available, we can remain south of the river and route to the Isle of Dogs, just to hold in case the job comes off that we were talking about earlier.
That's approved on 12,500.
So that is that's Pro-ATCX's background chatter. Obviously, it sounds a little bit more natural than the AI traffic chatter. You do have to say get sick of them after a while, because I've flown this route many times. I've heard literally every piece of chatter several times. But you can add more or add your own if you've got it. Okay, we've hit 10,000 feet. Turn off the seatbelt signs so passengers can move around. Accelerate 270 knots. And hopefully I'll get my next step climb instruction. Probably straight the way to 240.
Australia, Tango, Talk 7,778. Follow.
And once we get a cruise height, we start talking about other stuff. So at the moment, we are passing Chiltern Park. And we've flown past Thatcham and Newbury. Reading off our left side, Reading's over there. And Wokingham. So we're still quite in the London area, but we'll be out of that fairly soon. Okay, I've reached 13,000, so I'm waiting for my next climb instruction. Here it is.
Climb and maintain flight level 240.
Climb and maintain flight level 240.
So we're now cleared all the way. So from this height, you can see quite a large extent of the country. There's the South Wales coast over there. Kind of the whole southwest peninsula is ahead of us. Got the Isle of Wight off to our left here, Portsmouth. And then we'll go past Bournemouth as well. You won't really see that much until I start doing VFR flights. We won't. Excuse me. I've got a handover. Co-pilot will take care of that. So I said I've been doing some work on the hardware, and indeed I have. So I can tell you a bit about that. The main instrument panel used to be in two parts, you might recall. The left part had the G1000 PFD, the right part had the G1000 MFD, and then it had this Saitek switch panel underneath. I have replaced both of those with a single main instrument panel, which has enabled me to do a few other bits and pieces that I wanted to do. So I have this monitor in the middle now. It's a 13.3-inch widescreen touch monitor. It's what's called a portable gaming monitor, which is something I never knew existed before. But basically, it's a full LCD panel, but it's powered from USB and doesn't have any of the main circuitry that you need, so it's in a smaller form factor. The idea is that you take it with you to connect to a laptop or a small portable gaming PC when you go to LAN parties, etc. And it has a stand and a cover and all those sorts of things. I've taken all those off, but it is very thin, only sort of 10 or 11 mil thin, and so I can fit it very easily into the front of the panel. This stays in permanently, and that can be used for things like I'm using it now, using it for the weather radar and the radio panel. But I can use it for displaying any kind of gauges that I might want. Could also replace the Saitek FIPs that I used to have down the middle. And then at the moment, to either side, I've got these 15-inch, also portable gaming monitors. They're all touchscreens, by the way. And the idea is this gives me lots of real estate to display various different gauges and panels. So in the case of the 1460 Avro Jet, it being an older aircraft, it actually ships with a full 2D panel. So I just put the 2D panel across these two monitors, and that works pretty well. But I can use it for air manager gauges and other things of that ilk. But don't worry, I haven't got rid of the G1000, so these monitors are only held in with friction. Just stick my hand around the back, pop them out, disconnect them, and connectors are on the right hand side, and then I bring over the G1000s, which I have built adapters to fit them into these spaces, push them in, well, wire them up first, push them in, and connect them, and I get my G1000 back. So it's very easy to reconfigure the simulator. So this is kind of heavy jet config, using the MCP as the autopilot control, using a little panel that I've built down here for radio frequency adjustments, using the throttle quadrant for my thrust levers and other bits and pieces. And so we're very much in airliner mode, but then I can switch over to the G1000. I can put the Saitek throttle quadrants back on. Remember that there's kind of a saddle that fits over this, and I can swap these out to the G1000, and I'm back in GM mode relatively easily. Also replace this screen down here. So this screen used to be a full LCD touchscreen monitor, and now is another one of the LCD portable gaming monitors. Again, it's a touchscreen. Built a new surround for it. It's more lightweight. It's one less mains cable that we need. That's a good thing. And that's for the FMC is down there, and control panels and weather radars and other things can go down there, or not, depending on what I need. And then I have the Saitek switch panel here. Now you might be able to see it wobbling. It's actually just held in with magnets, so it's on a separate panel. And if I want to, I can pull that out and put something else in its place. So I am actually going to build a new switch panel of my own design, which will do everything this does but more, and that will fit into this space when it's done. So look out for that in a future video. And that's it pretty much for hardware mods. Everything else is more or less the same. I did a bit of repainting and some touch-ups. I recalibrated the screen to try and make things a little bit more smooth. You see we no longer have the byte taken out in the middle, for example. I've got black areas here to the left and right, but they're actually masked off, so that's masked off in the software because the warp breaks down a little bit in the corners and everything sort of scrunches up, and it looks odd when you're moving quickly and you look out to the left or the right. It just distracts your eye, so I put effectively blinkers over it. Just hitting cruising height finally, so should increase speed to 280 knots. In the meantime, we're about to go past Portland Bill, a recognisable landmark. But I'm going to switch back to the cockpit view, and then we're going to pop out. I'll move around, notwithstanding the haze. So that is Bournemouth down there. And then further along, in the distance you can see Portland Bill. And that white line is Chesil Beach, which is I think chalkstone sandbar spit or something like that. I don't know what the exact name is. And And when you're seeing it on the monitor and without the sort of pixel variation that's caused by the projection on the curved screen, you can see that the textures are really quite fine. And this is at sparse scenery level, don't forget. So it's all pretty good. Now we can step inside the aircraft. Well, this is outside, obviously. This is inside. So I quite like these views. These are views that I've seen as a passenger. So you've got one on this side, you've got at the back on this side, back on that side, and then at the front in business class looking back. Quite like the engine animation. Really do like these jets a lot. Anyway, back to the hybrid view. Right, I'm 14 nautical miles from Adkick. Adkick, I'm going to make a little turn to the right and then head over there towards this peninsula you can see sticking out there. That is where Berry Head is. The peninsula is also where you'll find Torquay, Torbay, places like that. We'll be going past Exeter fairly soon. Well, I say soon. Yeah, it's a little distance away yet. Exeter, where I went to university, so I know this area of the country quite well. Although I don't know Cornwall particularly well. You might just make out some sort of brownish areas there. That's Dartmoor. We'll get a lot closer to Dartmoor on the way in. And Plymouth is down there on the other side. Then we'll head over the border into Cornwall. We'll hang a right and go in pretty much a straight line towards Newquay. And then we'll get vectored out for runway 12, which means we'll get vectored out off the coast over the North Sea a little bit, and then back round again in for an approach to runway 12, which I'll try and do on the ILS. Actually, this aircraft is capable of a full auto land, so we might try that and see if it works. I've done it a couple of times. Results can be quite variable. Make sure you've got the altimeter set properly, because if you don't, it can get messy very quickly. Well, that's it for part 1, folks. Come back for part 2 and the perilous landing in Newquay. I'm just kidding, it's not perilous at all. But it is good fun. Come back anyway. See you soon.